A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Myself, Vaibhav. I welcome all of you to today's session of Visual JForex, in which we will continue the algorithm development using the indicator Zigzag. And as the name suggests, this indicator gives us an idea after cancelling out the noise when the market moves are pretty much zigzag, and we can figure out if the trend is uptrend or downtrend and trade accordingly. So let us now head to the Visual JForex board where we have this setup so far completed, which includes the instrument subscription where the Euro USD is the instrument of choice, which is being matched with the candle instrument, which is in turn being matched with the Euro USD. The position amount was defined at 0 to make sure there is no existing pending or open position on the account prior to the execution of the new trade. After that, I added the zigzag indicator block with the hourly time frame with the lookback period of 2 to retrieve the zigzag output value, which we will compare to the last hour's closing value to see whether the price is stabilizing or not, and to make sure there is enough of price move on the upper side compared to the decline in the prior hour. We will be comparing out the difference between the opening and closing values of these candle 15 and candle 16 respectively. To then pinpoint the exact entry point, I will also utilize these 10-second candles to define the entry points. And then we have these calculation expression blocks where we have found out the actual difference between the last hour's closing and opening value. In both the scenario where the open price is higher compared to the close price, that will be the case when we will be looking to short it. And when we will be looking to go long, then we will have to compare the closing price, which is going to be higher compared to the open price. And this difference we will then use to set the condition for the execution of the buy trade. I will now have to calculate the closing and opening price difference of the second last hour. So for that, I need to get these candle 16s, candle close and open, and get the calculation done. For that, I am going to add one more of the calculation expression block. So here I have this. Candle 16, candle close. This is going to be lower. So first I have to take candle 16, candle open, and then deduct candle 16, candle close. So this is going to be A1 minus A2, and then we define the result of the calculation as BSD1. Okay, so we now have the actual difference of both these last two hourly candles. And with this, we can now think about setting the conditions with use of if-else block. So I am now going to logical blocks, multiple action. For the time being, I won't join it here as we are going to need to add a couple of more calculation expression block as per my expectations. So instead, we join it to the first flow. All right. Now the conditions are fairly simple. And if you don't really remember from the last session, then I will give you a brief refresher of sort. We are simply looking at the last hour's closing value, and it should have closed higher compared to the zigzag output value of the penultimate hourly candle. So here, as you can see, the lookback period is 2, and then that value is going to be compared to the last hourly candle close, and we need the last hourly candle close value to be higher, and these needs to have followed the prior hours decline. In the prior hour, the closing value needs to be lower compared to the opening price. And one more thing is, to make sure there is enough of reversal, we will take into account this actual difference, and the last hours closing and opening price difference should be higher compared to the prior hours closing and opening price difference. So that is also going to be a added condition. And provided these conditions are in place, we will place the order on the lower side, not on the higher side. So whatever is the actual difference of the last hourly candle, we will take that into account, and we will deduct the same price from the last tick ask, and we will place the order on the lower side. So that will be a limit order. Okay, so we now get back here. So the conditions are quite simple. We need candle 15 candle close to be higher than zigzag 19. Candle 15 candle close also needs to be higher compared to the open price. So here first input greater than second input. And then we look at the second last hourly candle close, and that should be candle 16 candle close lower than candle 16 candle open. So this is going to be first input less than second input. Then we compare the actual difference between these two closing values, and we need the BSD to be greater than the BSD1. So if all these conditions are in place, we start looking for the entry point, which we will now define. So the logical, now we need trading component, and there is going to be a pending order. So first thing we have to do is define the actual entry point. There is going to be a buy limit. Just a minute. Now we define the buy execution price. For that, I'm going to need calculation expression. So we take last tick take bid and deduct the last hour's closing and opening price difference. So there is going to be A1 minus A2, and this will be our by execution price. Default instrument remains as it is. Trade amount I will change to 0.1 million. Slippage is going to be 2 pips. Stop loss we will go with a fixed ratio this time around. So I will go with a stop loss of 20 pips and take profit of 30 pips. Okay. For the validity, we will keep it valid for 2 hours. So for that, we need to define a new variable. So again, calculation expression block is required. We take last tick time and add 3.6 million ticks multiplied by 2. So I need to create two variables here. You can straight away also write 7.2 million. But if you want to keep order valid say for 3 hours or 1.5 hours, so it is easier to understand. 1 hour contains 3.6 million ticks, and then we multiply it with the desired number of hours. So here I create another variable. And then we get this A1 plus A2 multiplied by A3, and this will be our order validity, which I will name OVT. All right. So here we have defined the buy side of this algorithm, quite easy to understand and equally easy to implement on this Visual JForex board. Now I will place it on the lower side. We needed this difference to be greater, so first input greater than second input, and after that the execution will happen only when the price starts to rise above the last hour's closing value. So again we need to do the comparison between the closing values of the candle 17 and candle 18 with the closing value of candle 15. So we need two more of the if blocks. I kind of I had forgotten that, so pardon me on this count. So we need these two if blocks, and we take candle 17, candle close, and candle 18, candle close, and compare it with the closing value of candle 15, candle close. So this is going to be first input greater than second input, whereas candle 18, which is the penultimate 10-second candle, it should have closed on the lower side. So here, first input greater than second input, then again first input greater than second input, followed by first input less than second input, and after that our order will be placed to the buy with the order validity of 2 hours, and these are the input parameters. So there will be a lot size of 0.1 million with the slippage of 2 pips, stop loss being 20 pips, and target price of 30 pips at the desired price. So this is the buy side of this algorithm, and I hope you have been able to understand the logical as well as the execution part of this part. And in next session, I will be dealing with the sell side of equation. So once we are done with that, we will have a fully functional algorithm using the indicator Zigzag. So that's it from my side for today's session. For further coverage of the market developments, do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page. We are also available on the Facebook. You can reach out to us there. For carrying out the testing on the historical data, you will need the assistance of JForex platform. So all these links have been provided in the bio. Thank you all for joining in. See you next time. Till then, goodbye.